This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our show. Sorry we're kicking off a little late, but Rockin' Roger over here, he was in some traffic, and we still adore him, and I'm just happy that he's here safely. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your patience, and welcome to the Empty Chair, the podcast for the addict who didn't make it. Tonight's show, I didn't have anyone to designate it to, so I'm going to designate it to Roger Allen Rosemarino, which many of you know was my boyfriend who passed away when we were in high school, which was the catalyst to me becoming an alcoholic and addict at a very young age. So he didn't die from addiction. He died from a rare heart disease, but tonight's show, because I have Roger here, I just want the show to be dedicated to Roger Allen Rosemarino. I still love him, still miss him, and I know my friends out there miss him too. So welcome, and again, thank you for your patience. And I just want to I always like to thank our, I'm drawing a blank on that, our sponsors who help make this show possible. So Alternative Home Healthcare, Good Vibes, Circle of Hope, Discover Methuen, Enterprise Bank, Essex County Outreach, Haven of Hope, Heartfelt Recovery Centers, Inspired Vibes, and Team Sharing. As you folks will see their banners throughout the evening, these individuals have purchased that. It was a win-win. The money that they used to purchase that banner went into a fund to scholarship individuals who need sober living when they get out of detox. So thank you for that. Right now, this is the first time in a while that we are seeing an increase in overdoses and fatalities. Some factors might be that there's a drug out there that is 200 times more powerful than the xylazine. And I know I don't pronounce it right, so I will spell it for you folks. It's MEDETOMIDINE, medetomidine, sure, all those letters. But they're it's showing up in the fatalities, so we're really we're airing people on to be extremely cautious when using. Even Narcan's not saving you, so there's an opportunity to hear this and to say, you know what, it's time to put it down. It's time to enter treatment. It's time to surrender, because people love you, and we want you to live. And if you don't think anyone loves you, I love you. Come to my office and I'll give you a hug. But seriously, we are seeing an increase, which was sad because we were on a decrease, and we're seeing, I want to say, a 5-time increase just since the beginning of this year. That being said, we also have some statistics of overdoses from January 1st to January 31st. I don't have the month of March ready, but in Essex County, we had 168 overdoses, and 2 of those were fatal, which is not bad. The fatality started picking up in February, and we've already had 2 in March locally. So the other thing I wanted to go over is some upcoming events. We have Jasmine and Grace Outreach. Jasmine and Grace helps women escape the sex trafficking industry. This organization, they've been on the show before, is hosting a fundraiser banquet, and that's Friday, March 21st at 6 p.m. at the Trinity Baptist Church in Nashua. For more information on that, I am going to post it on our Facebook page so that you can have access to that. We also have the Circle of Hope every Monday evening at the Methuen Police Department. This was Phil Leahy and Fran Leahy's baby. They just loved having the Circle of Hope. And since Phil has passed on, I have stepped in to sit with Fran. She basically runs the show, and I do whatever she tells me to do. So that's Monday evening, 6:30 to 8 at the Methuen Police Department. And that information also can be found on MVP ASAP. And then I got some great news about MVP ASAP is they're having their 10th year anniversary celebration. On June 6, 2025, we'll be having an amazing celebration at Lindsay's in Drake It, We are looking for donations for raffle donations. We're looking for people to buy tables, to be sponsors of tables. So these will be going out in the mail, also posted on our Facebook page. And I will be driving around to all our local high-end restaurants looking for donations, also from golf courses too. And that's it. And then one more event coming up is Serenity at the Falls. This is the Atlantic North Regional Convention for Cocaine Anonymous. It is in Niagara Falls, New York, and that will be April 16th through the 19th, 2026. It's planning ahead, but we'll be putting that up on the Facebook page. So that's everything that I have for upcoming events. As we know, each month we do a topic based on what BSAS puts out there, and March is Gambling Addiction Awareness and Resource Month. So tonight I'm honored and blessed to have these two gentlemen here with me. So March, again, has been designated as Gambling Addiction and Recovery. Gambling addiction is often called the hidden addiction because there are no physical signs like substance use disorder, yet its impact can be just as devastating. It destroys families, friendships, and employment. It can lead to financial ruin, legal trouble, and severe mental health struggles, including anxiety, depression, and suicide. So some problem gambling in Massachusetts right now, approximately 2% of the Massachusetts adult population are problem gamblers. And gambling among our college students is 75% of college students gambled in the past year, with 18% of them gambling weekly or more frequently. So tonight's show is to identify signs of gambling, educate everyone on the dangers of, and promote some prevention strategies. So Ryan and Roger, thank you so much for being here. I know this is a topic that people don't talk about, like to talk about, and it's something that I have seen destroy families, destroy marriages, destroy businesses. So let us know. We'll start with you, Ryan, to talk a little bit about the gambling addiction, any statistics you may have, and most importantly, because you and I were speaking before about the children. Yeah. And how that's getting started. So maybe start off there.
Sure. Yeah, I think to your point, it's the hidden addiction, and it has such, I think, stigma around it too. Not that all addiction doesn't, but I think it's really, I think you say this, Roger, all the time, it lives in the shadows, right? And for many reasons, I think people assume that you're not ingesting something, you're not taking anything, you may not look high, you may not look intoxicated, but there's still something happening in the brain that happens the exact same way as if you're drinking alcohol, using heroin, anything like that.
Wow. So people are experiencing a high when they're gambling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think the kind of part that people don't understand is that it's like you're losing money. Why are you still like gambling? But it's not just the winning that activates that sort of dopamine in the brain. It's that almost winning, like that chance, that second right before.
Or the next one's going to make me a winner. Like the next one, the next one. Yes.
Gets that dopamine rush going in the brain.
Yes.
And it's highly addictive.
Right.
And also because it's also a, the type of reinforcement it does in the brain is it's what we call variable ratio. So it's you don't know what and you don't know when, and that kind of adds to the excitement and the rush.
Right.
The learning of the addiction, say drinking. Oh, I know if I drink this much, I get this high, or I know if I use this much, I feel this way.
Yep.
In gambling, it's sort of this unknown. Like, well, maybe I'll win if I spend this much. Maybe I'll win this much, and it kind of infiltrates the brain's reward system very differently.
No kidding. And we don't have detoxes for gambling, do we? Get out of town, we do.
No,
we don't.
Okay.
Just to put it in perspective, and Ryan did a great job of explaining that. In Massachusetts alone, on the average week, there are close to 500 AA meetings. That's for Alcoholics Anonymous. For Gambling Anonymous, there are about 47. So it gives you an idea exactly how little coverage there is. Now, the state is trying to change that. They've instituted different programs, and they have an 800 number. If you're in a casino, you can go to what's called Game Sense, which is a kiosk where you can go and get some clarity on what you're doing and the impact it's going to have on you. And if you are indeed a problem gambler,
Yeah.
Just to give a little context for those that are listening, gambling has been a part of the American culture going way back to the 1700s.
Way back.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 1700s, you had horse racing. 1800s, you had the notorious riverboat gamblers. In the 1900s, we saw the advent of casinos and the state lotteries, of course, and everyone's familiar with scratch tickets.
Mm-hmm.
But what's happened most recently has been this introduction of online sports.
Yeah.
And if you talk to academics, if you talk to people in the gambling industry, you talk to state officials, there is a great concern about the impact that online sports betting has. So
I was sharing with Ryan before you got here. We had youth commit suicide because the online, they don't realize it's real money, and that if you lose, that someone's looking for that money back.
Right.
So it doesn't register in their brain that this is like you owe us money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what's difficult is that you see in real terms, if you're at a casino or if you're going to a convenience store and buying a scratch ticket, there's an actual physical exchange of money.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you're online, it's all by credit.
Yep.
And the challenge with that, of course, is that you lose track of how much money you're spending and how much money you're going to owe.
Yep.
So it creates a very addictive atmosphere, and that's what we're seeing.
Absolutely.
And I'll go back to the youth piece too. I think we even see it in kids in video games. Like I do think there's a strong correlation with kids in the video games and becoming a later sort of problem gambler or at risk for that.
Right.
A lot of these games nowadays, like my son plays soccer, I forget what they're called, 2K, NBA 2K, Minecraft, all these things have things that are called loot boxes.
Okay.
That basically you have virtual money. It's not real money, although your parents might pay to get, I got to buy this special item to play the game, right?
Yeah.
And you sort of can win or have a chance at getting a really rare item if you spend this many jewels or coins to get it.
Yeah.
And it's all fake,
So
right?
you know
But
what
you're
this kind of
hijacking that
reminds me
thing.
of?
Yeah.
Is when I was growing up and a cigarette smoker, we would save those little coupon things to get like the cool Marlboro jacket that you just so like you're adding up and and I need more and I smoke more to get more. Yeah, that's crazy. There is detoxes for gaming though. Yeah. There is. Yeah, absolutely.
We
so
talk about
kind of
that.
gambling.
Yeah, it's a little bit, and it brings in a lot of money. So there's estimate was, I think it was 2024, that all these loot boxes between the video games and the gaming industry brought in like 30 billion.
Holy smokes.
30 billion bucks for kids. And it just activates that reward center. So they're a lot more susceptible to kind of developing problem gambling later on. Once it's real money, right? Once it's that. And,
no kidding. I know, because I remember gambling as a kid. We would put a deck of cards like against the wall and like throw it. I forget the name and like and everyone would put in $1 and you'd
or dice,
or dice, right? Or left, right, center.
Right. Even now Pokemon cards. Pokemon cards, you buy these packs. You don't know what's in it. You want to get a rare card. It's completely innocent, but it's the same kind of active chance.
Right.
Maybe I'll get something really special. You get that something special and you can be hooked.
And did you say there was a correlation with gambling with kids that start off with the gaming at a young age?
Yep.
So like if a child has the parents that are recovery addicts or alcoholics, are they at a higher risk of becoming a gambler if they're on that game plus that? Because
I think all those fall into that risk factor category.
Right.
Especially if there's gambling around the house and they're just increases as you add those risk factors.
And you mentioned the state of Massachusetts and the scratch tickets. Do you know if the state requires them to have an at the stores if you're having trouble with gambling? Call this number. I know
that's everywhere now.
Okay. But is it required to be in the gas stations that are selling?
Yes.
It is.
But it appears in different sizes and different places, and it's not always quick to see. I would argue that if you're a chronic gambling addict, you just dismiss those things. Okay. That's not for me. That's for people who have a problem.
Okay.
That's sort of the sentiment. But Yeah, I mean, scratch tickets, lottery, highly addictive for 2% of the population that purchases them.
Right.
And of course, everybody knows, very familiar with slots at casinos.
Yeah.
Again, very high possibility, I should say, probability of addiction for some individuals.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing in the clinical community and within academia is the correlation between substance use disorder and and gambling.
Can you speak to that? What you're seeing?
Yeah, well, I can speak to it on a personal basis.
Oh.
I, had an addiction to both cocaine and alcohol. When about 2 years into recovery, I, through coincidence or by circumstances, went to a casino, and I had the unfortunate experience of winning early on, which sets the table for misuse, and that's really what I experienced. And I can say, upon reflection, there was a very clear, connecting the dots between substance use disorder and gambling. It's the same high that Ryan was talking about.
Did the gambling cause you to relapse, or did you stay sober?
No, I stayed sober throughout, but I would say that it very conveniently replaced my use of substances.
At the time that you were doing this, were you attending any kind of 12-step meetings or using a type of support?
I used AA, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in AA, you're going through the steps, and the next thing
Right.
you know, you're gambling.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would argue, personally, getting off gambling was far more challenging than substance use.
I'm sure, because it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's legal.
It's money. You need money
Yeah,
to live, right?
you don't-
need
yeah.
to, you need
And
cash
you can't
to live.
you can hide it. Like our drinking, we can't
You could-
hide. Our cocaine, we can.
You could go years hiding it. And,
Right.
and Ryan and I have seen that happen. And it's very tough for people to get off of it. And people say, well, why is it different than substance use disorder? And it's important that we make that distinction. As you indicated, with substance use, there are, society has come to have compassion. I think one high-profile person was Matthew Perry, who died of, they say, an overdose of ketamine. Now, he was received in society with great compassion and, this is so sad that this has happened. None of that happens with problem gambling. Society treats problem gamblers with contempt, disdain. I don't trust him. Don't ever let him around money. He's an embezzler. We're kind of where we are now with public perception of problem gambling as where we were 40 or 50 years ago with alcohol. It's still a curse. And society hasn't fully embraced the possibility of rehabilitation.
Yeah, access to it has skyrocketed a lot quicker, right? Than anything else. I think the sports betting.
That's the
especially.
other thing is the sports betting.
Yeah.
Right? I think the numbers of gambling addiction went through the roof on that. I mean, I have people that gamble on the toss flip heads or tails. $50, heads or tails.
You gamble how many times they're going to show Taylor Swift in the last Super Bowl. You
Yes.
gamble on that, right? And gamble on anything.
Right.
And I think for that community, I think that you talk about college age students, I think male college athletes are hugely high risk for problem gambling related to the sports betting. And I think it's so embedded, in the culture of watching sports. And but so it's kind of
I bet you didn't know that. It's part of the vernacular of our society.
Right.
I bet you didn't know such and such.
Right.
And so betting is so ingrained in our culture.
Yeah.
To Ryan's point, there was $1.3 billion spent just on the Super Bowl alone. A third of the adult population of the country bet in one form or another on the Super Bowl.
And I'm part of that. I bought squares.
Everybody is.
Yeah.
And so, the sports gambling equation, I think, for those who have an addictive personality, is very dangerous. And I don't see that changing. because FanDuel and DraftKings, which are the two most predominant platforms, have done a masterful job, a job that's so well put together that it'll probably be a case study in business schools 10 years from now. They have engaged sports figures, teams, team owners, team venues. If you go to the Boston Garden or Foxborough, you're going to see signs for it. So, and probably the biggest coup of all is they've created this tax revenue for the state. So for the state to decide, oh, well, we don't want to be in the gaming business, it's not going to happen because they're making too much money through taxes.
So I thought that our gas stations, like just saying Methuen, like when they hit the lottery, like X amount is supposed to go to our school for education for children. Is that true or false? Is it supposed to?
What, the revenue from gaming?
Yeah.
It could be anything from that, where the state might decide that we want to improve our roads and our bridges.
Okay, so it's definitely not dedicated to education. Because I often, like when I listen to not only just Methuen, but other school systems always wanting money. I'm like, we have Ted's Mobile, who has sold numerous of Mega Millions, Powerball, scratch ticket. Like they have brought in a significant revenue for the city of Methuen. And I'm like,
where is it?
Doesn't that money go towards our schools? Because that's what it was designed for. That was your buy-in. We let you sell tickets. You do X amount for school. So
I know the stores get a kickback themselves.
Right, they get a percentage.
But even though all the messaging, you walk into a gas station, it's like, we sold a $1,000 ticket. We sold this. We sold that. It's like, you can't escape it. Right.
No, exactly.
Maybe that'll be me. I think that's the.
To get a sense of the tax revenue for the 3 casinos in the state, they get 20% of their revenues goes to paying the state taxes.
So what do we have in Massachusetts? We only have the one in Boston.
No,
the other
we have
one's
Plainville, we have MGM
Springfield,
in Springfield, and we have Encore here in Everett.
Okay.
So they get 20% from the casinos. They get 25% from the revenue generated from the FanDuels and the DraftKings. So it's significant.
It's huge significance. So where's that money go?
Ask your legislator.
Okay. Everyone listening, like this is really key, especially because those from Methuen, we have Ted's who has sold millions of prize winners. And I know that I was under the impression from learning over the years that our funding was for schools. So ask your legislators where the money from gambling goes, because it is a significant amount.
And the thing too, that revenue, that tax revenue, is being made on the backs of people who most likely are the problem gamblers, the addicted gamblers, right? They're the ones that are going to keep going back. It's not social for them. It's not a one night out where we get a fancy dinner and put $20 in a slot machine, right? They're making their revenue off people who are really struggling.
Right. Roger, are you comfortable to let us know a little bit about your gambling, like what it took from you? Was it like a loss of a business, or is it you caught it in time to say?
I pretty much caught it in time.
Amen.
I frequented casinos in Connecticut and Rhode Island. And it has a devastating effect because the profile of a problem gambler is a great deal of shame, secrecy. So it's not like you're going to come out and share with everyone, hey, I've got a drinking problem. It's, hey, I have a problem with gambling. So there's a great deal of secrecy. And that continues to impact the entire experience in a negative way. There's nowhere to go to talk to someone.
Right.
And as I mentioned earlier, society's reaction to problem gambling is nothing but contempt.
Right.
You're a bum, you're a liar, you're a cheat. You stole the kids' college
You took out a second mortgage without me knowing.
Yeah.
And we
Yes,
have
I've
people
heard
in our
that.
support group at Riverside who have admitted it's very, very troubling that their spouse doesn't even know
Yeah.
they've spent all this money.
Yeah. And that happens a lot.
And that happens
And
a
then
lot.
when the spouse finds out, you get the big D strolling in because it's a rude awakening for people.
Money's already the highest, I think, conflict point
Yeah.
in relationships,
Right.
right? So then you
Yes.
add this layer to it, and
Yeah.
the stigma and the hiding of it. And
Yeah.
I think the big part then is that the chasing of the losses, right? Which is a
Right.
huge, I think, piece of I lost this much, I could win it back.
Yeah.
And that just feeds it.
Right. So I'm glad you brought up Riverside. Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about Riverside, what it is that you do for them?
Yeah. So Riverside Community Care is a nonprofit within the state of Massachusetts. We have a broader range of services across the state.
And it's a nonprofit?
Nonprofit, yeah.
Where do you get your funding?
All our Mass Health grants,
Amen.
state
Okay.
state funding,
Perfect.
all
Okay.
that, yeah. So I'd say at least for kind of gambling services, what we've started is we have a lot of kind of recovery services. So Roger can speak to the recovery coaching program.
Yeah.
We have outpatient centers that have a lot of therapists that work with folks with addictions or co-occurring mental health and substance use.
Awesome.
And one thing that we started is a problem gambling support group that is Roger co-leads with a clinician that meets weekly.
That's awesome.
So lots of supports that we're trying to sort of, get ahead. Well, we're already behind this problem, I think, in the state, but get as more ahead of it as we can. And this week is actually, yesterday was National Problem Gambling Screening Day. So all of our programs in Riverside are doing screening across the board for all people served.
Awesome.
And I know that a lot of other agencies in the state are doing that as well, just to a 3-question screener.
Yeah, I saw it on the internet, and I was like,
just,
"That's pretty cool."
Just to start the conversation. I think
Absolutely.
Right. And to Ryan's point, it depends on how badly people want to go into some kind of recovery.
Right.
I always tell people you have to want this.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge that you've got a problem,
Yeah.
and you have to reach out to those who can help you.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're living a very dark existence.
Right.
So.
So we keep talking about the gambler. What about the spouse or the friend that is noticing that a loved one is doing this? What's the best way to approach it? Because just like the addiction, or is there any kind of support group that we could send individuals to on how do you start the conversation with your loved one? Is it the same as the active alcoholic, the active coke addict?
I wouldn't say there's any sort of blueprint for that.
Yeah.
I think that you should have all your ducks in a row. If you're going to talk to your spouse about it, here's my addiction. Here's what I'm doing about it. I care about you. I want you to know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a comfortable conversation.
Right.
And you better prepare yourself for sleeping on the couch for a while.
Okay.
So-
And is this something that you would help with as a recovery coach? Is that because he spoke that you're a recovery coach for people that gamble? Can you
Right.
tell us what that looks like?
Yeah. So what we do, we have a support group that
Yep.
Riverside has endorsed and supported. And what we try to do is to talk about all the major points that they're going through.
Okay.
Themselves living, you as a problem gambler, you live 2 lives. One is the life, your job, your family, your friends, your experiences, your hobbies, et cetera, and then there's the dark side. Keeping this addiction under wraps and nobody knows about it, and you live with this darkness, and it's a miserable experience. Passing through life. But I think what we're trying to do is to create a safe and comfortable environment for those to share with each other their experiences. And through the sharing, I think that that we can make some headway on getting people thinking about, I'm not alone. I think that's one of the most important aspects of it, that you're not alone. There are others out there that are suffering through this. Come join us and join the conversation.
And to bring up the point that, like, I think they feel not part of the recovery community because it's not a substance, right? Or that's so to really even just provide psychoeducation, like, listen, this is an addiction like any other addiction, and the things you experience, things you feel, how it progressed, it's progressive, just like any other addiction. just to kind of normalize their experience of it, so they don't feel so, well, I'm not that, so I don't deserve
Right.
this. I don't deserve help for this because it's not as mainstream of an addiction as others. So.
And are your meetings in person? Are they on Zoom?
They're on Zoom now from 4 to 5 on Mondays.
Yep.
In fact, any of your listeners would be interested in joining the group. You do have to be a Massachusetts resident, and you can go through my colleague here,
Yep.
who can get you to the group.
Okay.
And we invite anybody who's listening to please join us.
Awesome. Yes, because we are running out of time, but I do want people to know the resources that we do have available. So it's called GA, Gamblers Anonymous, correct?
No, it's called, ours is a support group.
Support
It's
group?
not, it's not Gamblers Anonymous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So then you would
Yes,
contact
they contact
you?
us. Yeah, so they could just call our office there. They're under 781-246-2010. Just say I'm interested in learning more about our gambling support group, and we'll get you
Awesome.
tracked.
And I'm going to have all of that
Perfect.
on our website. We'll also have this available that we can share out with anyone.
Yeah.
And if someone is listening tonight right now, what would be, and they're really struggling and they don't know what to do, what would you tell them the first step to do is?
Well, I would say be honest with yourself
Okay.
and understand that you have an addiction. There is a solution.
Amen.
There is a clear path, but you have to first acknowledge this is way over my head. I'm doing something that is out of control. And then next step after acknowledging your addiction is to have the willpower to come forward and ask for help.
Nice.
And it could be GA, it could be our program or other programs. Incidentally, I just want to add for those listeners that if they go on the Riverside website, they can find the
And is it
program.
riverside.com.org?
Riversidecc.org. So Riverside Community Care.
.org. And something that you just made me think of was, and the amounts don't have to be, someone could be spending $400 a month, right?
Yeah.
And someone could be spending $4,000. So it's not the amount of money. It's kind of more or less with what it does to you.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing to that. I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought that up. There is the notion, particularly when one understands that they have this gaming addiction, that they live I call it they live the fantasy. Oh gosh, if I can just hit the big one, I can pay everybody off. Well, the world will be a better place. I can come out of the shadows. And actually, first of all, that never happens.
Yep.
And it doesn't really address the issue. And the issue in the clinical community is looking at co-occurring disorders.
Right.
And I know Ryan can address that, but that's where you want to go with this addiction.
Right. Because you hear about people that do hit the lottery and they go through it
It's
in
gone.
3 years.
Yeah,
they had a show
That's
on
actually
it.
probably the
Right.
worst thing that can happen
What?
to someone struggling
And
with
we've
gambling
seen
addiction
Yes.
is to get that big hit to pay it all off, because it's
Right.
not going to get all paid off.
Yeah.
Or maybe it does, then but it goes right
Yeah.
back to it, right? The
Right.
cycle
Yeah.
continues.
It makes for great reality TV,
Yes.
but also troubling TV.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, I appreciate you both being here with us.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll
It's great.
definitely have you at some of our events. Would love to probably bring you in and speak to the kids.
Yeah.
I'm
more
going
with
to
youth,
put an
yeah.
organization, an event together for that. If you're listening tonight and you're struggling with gambling, or you even questioning, maybe, am I struggling? Tonight would be the night to really get honest. Take a look at your banking account. Take a look at your habits. Take a look where your money's going. Are you not paying bills, but yet you have money to gamble? So these are things to look at. Do know that there is a solution. There is a way out. Riversidecc.com. You guys can always reach out to me for more information.
.org,
yeah.
And,
He'll find us.
and
You'll find us.
absolutely. And always, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. This information will be on the MVP ASAP Facebook page, along with my personal page, because this is important information. As always, thank you to Lou Blassie back there, the best producer ever. He has an amazing show on tomorrow that I just found out about. It's 12 o'clock, and it's two witches from Salem sharing some. It's called what kind of tea?
Called the psychic tea.
The psychic tea.
Yeah.
So for some of
Which
you
is
that,
an astrologer.
yeah, there you go. A little bit different. So tune on in. And for everyone else that's out there, thank you for a great evening, for tuning in tonight. God bless, and we'll see you next month.